Welcome back, everybody. We've got another story coming out from Front Office Sports. It just hit today about 15 minutes ago. This one's a big one. Brandr, we had the story from last week. Again, we're getting these stories about every week. Last week, Brandr Group, which represents about 54 different schools, filed a lawsuit against EA with regards to their new college football game coming out in 2024. More has come out about the lawsuit. Looks like the Brandr Group is trying to get it so that EA doesn't really engage with any of the schools that Brandr has an agreement with or is representing when it comes to regards of NIL and things like that. And legal experts are saying this may actually cause the game's release. I know the last few times you may be thinking, oh, he's been being hyperbolic or he's saying things and it's being clickbait. No, this is what it was always coming to. This is what I was afraid of with regards to this game. So we've got it right here. Like I said, fresh, brand new. As you can see, June 28th, 2023, 11:04 a.m. Front Office Sports. Latest filing an EA college football lawsuit may delay game release. The Brandr Group is asking the court to prohibit EA from doing business with schools and athletes at issue in the lawsuit. If they prevail, there's a possibility the release of EA college football could be delayed, legal experts said. So let's go ahead and we're going to read this article, as we've done all those other times. This is becoming an ongoing saga on this channel while I'm also playing NCAA 14 and doing dynasties and putting that dynasty up here on the Big In Sports Network. But I want to bring this story to you guys because this is very important. A lot of people are looking forward to this game, and it's looking like it's going to become kind of a mess due to NIL. So the newest development in the lawsuit between a group licensing agency called the Brandr Group and Electronic Arts over the future EA college football game could potentially delay the game's release date. The Brandr Group has filed a request for a temporary restraining order that would prohibit EA from offering deals to schools and athletes at issue in the lawsuit. If the Brandr Group wins, they could file for an injunction, keeping EA from taking these actions until the lawsuit dispute is settled altogether. Okay? In a statement to Front Office Sports, EA reiterated its plan to bring back EA college football in summer 2024. That's what we got out of last week. They said, oh, the lawsuit's not going to delay us. But again, this is not small stuff, guys. Front Office Sports broke the news of the lawsuit, which was filed last week. In it, the Brandr Group claims EA is attempting to circumvent its exclusive contracts to negotiate group licensing deals on behalf of schools and athletes. The Brandr Group has negotiated rights for 54 schools who could be in the game. And these aren't the small name schools, guys. Defending national champion Georgia is being represented by this school. Same with Alabama, Ohio State, Michigan, I think Texas. You've got big school name schools that would be very important to what the sales of the game would be, where people who are fans that would buy this game the teams could potentially not be in if something isn't reached between the Brandr Group and EA. That's all if the Brandr Group wins its lawsuit. So don't want to say that's not happening. These are just some things that could cause some issues with the game coming out itself, okay? So the Brandr Group has negotiating rights for 54 schools who could be in the game, as well as athletes at these schools who have signed individual contracts to work with the Brandr Group. So remember, the athletes are signed with the Brandr Group for the Brandr Group to be the ones to negotiate all this name, image, and likeness deals for these players, the company said in court documents. While the lawsuit proceeds, the Brandr Group is now asking the court to halt or prevent EA from doing business with schools and athletes it believes are under its jurisdiction. So again, those 54 schools, they're being asked, Brandr Group saying, hey, stop them from doing any type of potential deals while we're going through this lawsuit. That amounts to 3 requests, Boise State sports law professor Sam Ehrlich explained to Front Office Sports. EA must stop soliciting schools and athletes under Brandr's jurisdiction to opt into the game, sever any existing partnerships that EA has with Brandr Group schools, refrain from signing contracts with athletes who the Brandr Group has jurisdiction over. The Brandr Group has declined to comment on matters of ongoing litigation, but in court documents, the company said any potential marginal harm to EA Sports is far outweighed by the irreparable harm that will be prevented by protecting the contractual rights of TBG, the Brandr Group, and its partner schools, and especially the interests of the client athletes who stand to miss out on fair compensation for their participation in the game and immeasurable financial opportunities in the future, given EA's exclusivity requirements. EA filed its response on Tuesday evening, noting in a statement to FOS, as we have said before, we believe the complaint does not have any merit, and this is no different. So, this is going to be an interesting. People need to be following this because this is really going to determine what's going to happen with this game. Court documents argue that the Brandr Group had no claim over any athletes. Brandr asserts that granting an injunction is in the public interest because EA's actions amount to anti-competitive conduct. EA said in court documents, but if anything, it is Brandr, not EA, that seeks to restrain student athletes' ability to contract freely. Brandr's proposed injunction would frustrate student athletes' ability to make individual choices regarding whether they want to license their NIL rights and be included in EA's game. If the Brandr Group ultimately wins an injunction, the game could be delayed. Ehrlich and sports attorney Mitt Whitner agreed. However, that depends on a couple factors. So again, let's get into it. First, the duration of the lawsuit. EA said in court documents that while it has encouraged schools to opt in by June 30th, it's not a requirement. EA also hasn't begun the athlete opt-in process. It won't be sure which athletes will be eligible for the game until spring of 2024. So the game will be based on the 2024 to 25 season. If the lawsuit isn't settled by the spring of 2024, that's when EA could have a problem. Second, whether EA feels it needs the schools and athletes in the Brandr Group's jurisdiction or if it wants to simply go ahead without them. That would be a mistake, in my opinion, just because those are the big-name schools. People are going to want to play with them. People are going to want to beat them. It's better to beat like Georgia or Ohio State or Michigan when you're doing the playoffs and playing for your national championship as you're building a dynasty, playing against schools that aren't really them, but you know they're kind of them. This just doesn't have the same feel. And third, whether EA throws up its hands altogether and decides to make the game without any players at all. Though the lawsuit is about jurisdiction over athlete negotiations rather than fair compensation, it comes on the heels of the Brandr Group and others criticizing reported terms of the EA deal. EA told the Athletic it hasn't finalized the terms of the deals, but reports suggest they would amount to about $500 per player and no royalties, along with strict exclusivity agreements for athletes. While it's common practice to offer all athletes the same amount of money, athletes' earnings would be far below industry standard, given that all video games offer participating characters with recurring royalty checks. So I'm thinking that's the sticking point, is the royalties. Hey, what do the players get? Do they get royalties for it as well? This I think, is the question that everyone should be asking. What's going to happen with these players? So, again, this is a big story that just keeps coming out week by week now. So as you noticed here, it's saying, just to sum it up, the Brandr Group is basically trying to put in an injunction to stop EA from doing any type of deals, soliciting any deals with any of the schools that are partnered with the Brandr Group, and any athletes from those schools that are signed with the Brandr Group with regards to image and likeness. So that's where it's becoming kind of an issue. If the injunction is granted, that could cause problems. The lawsuit is not resolved by spring of 2024. That's where the game could be delayed. So we have a bit of time, right? We have a bit of time to find out. Hopefully the game isn't delayed. Now, one of the things that I've noticed, right, and one of the things they mentioned was, second, whether EA feels it needs the schools and athletes in the Brandr Group's jurisdiction or if it wants to simply go ahead without them. I know a lot of people, I keep seeing a lot of people say, with regards to it, hey, it's okay. As long as they have the edit button or I can edit players, I'll just buy the game with the generic athletes, the generic schools, and then I'll put them in after I buy the game. I reached out to an attorney on Twitter. He does video game law. And I thought I'd reach out and ask him about this. Would EA be liable if they had that in and they were doing with generic and people could just put it in after they've bought the game, put the athletes in, put the schools in? Would EA be liable for that? Or is it just, hey, we sold the game, it didn't have it, we don't control what people do with it? Because I don't know, and it'd be a very interesting case. Because remember, Bannon v. NCAA was all about using the player's image and likeness without compensation to the athletes. And if you just have generic players and then someone goes in and makes the player and puts it in on their roster with a generic, takes a generic player, edits, and makes that player, let's say, like, we'll just use Drake May for North Carolina. Go in, I make Drake May's height, use his number, everything about it is Drake May. You know it's Drake May, but it's not Drake May. Or I make the name Drake May and I do it myself, but EA doesn't have him in. Is that kind of the same thing as before and cause some problems? So I messaged him. I don't know if he'll get back to me. I told him this would be a great topic for him to talk about because it was a very interesting topic. Like I said, he talks about video games, legal issues he covers video games, legal issues with video games. And if he gets back to me, I'll make a video about that as well. But this, guys, this is the thing to watch for. This lawsuit really is important to pay attention to. I think last week people were like, EA said, oh, it's not going to stop us. And everyone was kind of like, oh, it's okay. Okay, cool. Yeah, okay, great. This is not going away. The Brandr Group is suing. Remember, they only represent 54 schools. What if someone else joins the Brandr Group with this lawsuit as well? I'm hoping the game isn't delayed. We got to pay attention to this. Watch the news with regards to this. If the lawsuit gets resolved before spring of 2024, we're good. If not, that's where we run into the problem because, again, they're not going to use the rosters until spring of 2024 to make sure that everything that's happening with all the transfer portal and all that stuff has been resolved. If you're enjoying this content, please make sure to leave a like, leave a comment. Let me know what your thoughts are with regards to this. Hopefully, this is shedding some light to some of you. I'm getting a lot of views for my channel, which doesn't have a lot of subscribers, but we're getting a lot of engagement with regards to this, and I think it's important because I'm covering it, I'm showing the article, and talking about it. I'm enjoying doing this. Again, we're always doing NCAA streams on Twitch at twitch.tv/begin. Come in, learn a little bit of football. I used to coach football, and this is a way for you to also, this is why I'm interested in talking about it. But appreciate everybody. You guys have a good day. We'll see you on the next Begin show, on the next video. Have a good one. I'm going to keep making videos talking about this because it's important. I think it needs to be out there. What is exactly happening? But again, make sure to hit that subscribe button. Have a good one.